Hi, I'm Veronica from Earth Mother Apothecary. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about my favorite holiday, Halloween. You may know it by another name. Maybe you know it by All Hallows Eve. Maybe you know it by Samhain or Hallowmas. Um, Halloween is such a great holiday because it's so much fun. And I think that a lot more people now are starting to embrace Halloween for not just its funness, but for its sacredness, really, and where it came from. And so today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where it came from and a little bit about why it's my favorite holiday. So, as you know, Halloween, we're in the end of October. We're, especially where I live, I'm in New England, so we have definite seasonal changes here. And right now, our trees are all different colors. They're yellow, orange, red. They're getting ready to release all of their leaves and kind of go dormant for the winter. So the earth is at its croning phase. So it's starting to shed everything and prepare for death. Obviously, it's not really dying, it's just going dormant for the winter. And so this is a great time, I find, to talk about the life and death cycles with my children. And I because the earth is showing us, we're going through this cycle every year. We come to this point where everything looks dead, it's dying off, all the crops are done, all the vegetation is done for the year, and for lack of a better word, it is all dead. And then come spring, it's reborn, it comes anew. So I think it's a really great opportunity to take on Halloween to talk about that cycle of life and death, because I think a lot of people still are very fearful of death. And I mean, that's quite understandable. It's unknown. But for me personally, I didn't want my children to grow up being afraid. So we talk about it, and it gives me the opportunity to, tell them what my beliefs are, ask them what they believe, and kind of gauge where they are and help them to be more at peace and at comfort with the phases of life and the stages of life and what happens. And so that's what we do at this time of year. We decorate sugar skulls that represent our ancestors, and we lay them out on an altar covered with pictures of our loved ones that have passed away, all their favorite foods, and things that remind us of them, their favorite effects that they used to wear, or maybe their glasses or what have you. And so it's a great time, like I said, to talk to your kids, to talk to people, see where they are, gauge where they are, make sure that they're not fearful, and that because we don't want our kids growing up living in fear. So we kind of talk to them about this and get them to really kind of embrace the whole cycle. So our belief is, and the belief of where Halloween actually started, was that, the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead are at its thinnest on Halloween. And so that means we're more likely to feel the presence of our ancestors, or for our spirit guides or angels or God, source, whatever you like to call it. And so at this time, it's been believed that our ancestors will come back to their homes seeking rest and to see their families and to nourish themselves before they continue on their journey for the next year. So long ago, I'm sure you probably know, a lot of people were very superstitious, and they were very much believers of spirit and entities and monsters and fairies and all kinds of things like that. And so they were very in tune with this cycle, the cycles of the earth, and they knew that at this time they would feel these presences more often. So they would do things that have turned out to be what we do here on Halloween, just changed up a little bit. So what they would do is, to help guide their ancestors back home to them, they would put candles in the windows. But they knew there's other things out there at this time, because if their ancestors were able to be here at that time, obviously other things must have been able to as well. So they would take turnips and they would carve ghoulish faces in them, and they would put them out around their homes and around their property to ward off any unwanted entities. They would act as a protective spirit. So that's kind of where our carving jack-o'-lanterns originated from. It was originally there to ward off unwanted spirit. Now it's just kind of fun. Everybody loves to do it. I know myself, my kids do. They love to carve the pumpkin. They love to roast the pumpkin seeds, and they just have fun. They don't necessarily carve them to be ghoulish or anything like that. Maybe they have a cat on them. Maybe they say boo. I don't know. It depends on the year what they do. So that was one of the ways that we celebrated long ago, bringing our ancestors back home and using these things as kind of wards to keep the um, unwanted entities away. So another thing that they did, and we do now, is they would create a big feast, all their ancestors' favorite foods, all of their favorite foods, and this food was set up to nourish the souls of their ancestors that came home. Again, as I said, they're coming home to seek rest, to seek nourishment, to help them out along their journey for the next year. So my family, we do that a little bit differently. We do it a couple ways, actually. On Halloween night, we put out what's called a dumb supper. So we'll set a place at the table with all the food, the beverages, everything, and we just leave a chair there and nobody sits there. And that is for our beloved dead, our ancestors. That's their place that they can come and seek their nourishment and enjoyment before they move along their way. As I've told you before, we're kind of eclectic here, so we kind of pull from there. We pull from Dia de los Muertos, which is a Mexican tradition. So we also have on our altar, and we set up through November 2nd, foods that they love, pan de muerto, and we leave that out as well so that they can continue to nourish themselves from, we usually start around October 30th and we go, like I said, through November 2nd. So they have that food sitting out and ready for them, that they can have it anytime they want to nourish themselves during that time period. And that's kind of where the candy has come from. That candy is representative of these feasts that they used to have and the dumb suppers and things like that. It's now just turned into, obviously in our time, it's more commercialized, so it's all about putting out the candy and buying and that kind of thing. So if that's something that calls to you to do, is to set up a dumb supper or something like that, I think it's an amazing way to really help to connect with your ancestors and help them have a place to rest and rest and replenish. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is costumes. So today we all dress up in costumes. Usually they're our favorite character or something that we admire and we want to be. We use our imagination we use Halloween to bring our imagination to life, basically. And so we dress up in all these fun characters. But again, way back when all this originated, when they were fearful of spirit and of entities that might be out, they wanted a way to blend in so that they could walk amongst them without being detected, because obviously life couldn't stop. They still had to go out and they couldn't stay hidden in their homes all the time. So they would fancy up some costumes for themselves, and that way they would be able to walk amongst the dead, walk amongst these other entities and these other beings undetected. And so that kind of carried on. And as we grew further apart from our connection to the earth cycles and to that feeling of spirit presence, it turned into just dressing up for fun. And that's where we are today. We have our costumes that we wear because it's fun. We carve our pumpkins, again, because it's fun. We have our candy because everybody loves candy, right? And so I think a lot of people have lost what Halloween really was all about. And so that's why I kind of wanted to share with you guys today, because I really think it's important that people know the roots of some of these holidays that they just celebrate, so that they can understand where it actually came from, and maybe to take a step back and go back to some of those old roots and really take them on for themselves and see if it betters themselves, better their connection to themselves, to their ancestors, to the divine, to their angels, to whatever it is that they resonate with. So I mean, yeah, do we still trick or treat? Of course we do. We have kids and it's a lot of fun for them. But we've explained to them again where all this came from and the differences from then and now. And they understand it, but they're kids. They want to have fun. And as parents, we want our kids to have fun. So of course we still encourage them to dress up and go ahead out and have a good time. And, we'll go walk around the neighborhood and collect candy again, because who doesn't love that kind of stuff? But as I said earlier, we do really take this time to sit and to instill our beliefs in our kids and to understand where they are with this, where they are at, if they're fearful of things like this. It just is a great time to really get a sense of where your kids are, what areas you need to help work with them to help them to grow up to not be fearful as adults. So I hope you found this video helpful, interesting, and so I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy my videos, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button so that you can get notifications every time I release a new video. And having said that, thank you for watching, and I'm wishing you herbal blessings and good health.